Hey, I'm Abrand Erasmus. I've wanted to make something like this for a long time. I want to break down the real journey behind building an income using digital growth, lead gen, and strategic client work. And I'm going to keep it all grounded right here in the South African context, because that's where I operate, that's the market I know best. So let's get into it.
Because you know how it is online. You always see the polished highlight reel. I want to share the real story. I tried a ton of things. Some worked, some definitely did not. But every single step, every mistake, it all sharpened my thinking and really built the foundation for the work I do today. So if you've ever wondered what it actually looks like to build momentum, this is for you.
Okay, so let's start with the messy part, the unpolished beginning. It's a period I call motion without progress. This is where I was doing a lot, learning, testing, but honestly, without any clear, commercially valuable direction.
Look, the path to success is never a straight line, right? And mine was absolutely no different. I had these long seasons of just testing ideas, learning different platforms, and trying all these approaches, and getting no meaningful or consistent results to show for it. It was frustrating for sure, but looking back, it was a totally necessary part of the process.
And this was probably one of the biggest lessons from that whole period. I was putting in the hours, I was working really hard, but I was realizing that pure effort, when it's just disconnected from solving a real commercial problem, it just doesn't guarantee a thing. You can be incredibly busy without making any real progress at all. And this slide, this just breaks down that disconnect perfectly. See, I had plenty of ambition, but it wasn't tied to a real need in the market. I had all this energy, but it wasn't focused on building a skill that someone would actually pay for. And yeah, I had ideas, but without creating tangible value for somebody else, progress just stalls. It's that simple.
So obviously, something had to change. And that change, it came from a single breakthrough question that completely shifted my thinking. It changed my entire approach to work and how I thought about building an income.
This was it. This was the question I stopped asking, how do I make money? And I started asking this instead. It seems like such a subtle shift, but it is incredibly powerful. It moves the focus off of you and onto the market. It goes from just wanting to get paid to becoming genuinely valuable. And that question, well, it changed everything.
And you know what? That one question, it led me down a much, much clearer path. I started diving deep into these specific high-value skills, things like SEO, lead generation, conversion strategy. These weren't just random things to do. They were skills that directly solved real expensive problems for businesses.
So here's the crucial point. My whole interest shifted. I didn't want to be just another marketer doing random tasks anymore. I became completely fascinated with understanding the entire system behind how a business actually grows its revenue online, from how people first discover a business all the way to how you build trust and actually generate inquiries.
Okay, so with this new mindset, the next logical step was to actually apply it in the real world. And that meant shifting from just completing tasks to focusing entirely on delivering tangible, measurable outcomes for clients. And this led me to a core concept that I now call commercial relevance. It's this simple but really profound idea that businesses, they're not really buying marketing or SEO. They're buying a solution to a problem. They're buying outcomes, like getting more visibility, getting better leads, and at the end of the day, improving their revenue.
This slide really illustrates the two different places you can operate from. On one side, you've got the task completer. They sell services, and because of that, they're always forced to compete on price. But on the other side, you have the strategic advisor. This person understands the bigger picture: revenue, trust, growth. They solve growth problems, which leads to a totally different and much better conversation.
So what are clients really buying? I mean, they might come to you asking for SEO, but what they actually want is visibility that generates real inquiries. They don't just want a list of things you did. They're buying confidence, they're buying less uncertainty, and they're buying a clearer, more predictable path to growth. And when you get that, it's a complete game changer. So if I had to boil this entire journey down to its essence, what were the real lessons? What are the things that actually moved the needle and created real, sustainable progress for me?
Looking back, it really came down to these 5 things. First, learning skills that businesses already had a clear demand for. Then, getting really good at communicating the value of those skills. It was about changing my positioning from just a task doer to a trusted advisor, getting that real-world experience, and finally, seeing the whole thing as one interconnected growth system, not just a list of random activities. And this right here is one of the most important takeaways I can possibly share.
So many people are looking for the shortcut, that quick win, the easy money. But the so-called easy route is almost always the slower route in the long run. Why? Because it traps you in low-value activities that don't build real expertise or any kind of financial leverage.
Which brings us to the core message of this entire journey. Don't focus on hype or trying to look impressive. Focus on becoming genuinely commercially useful. Because once you develop skills that solve visible, expensive problems for other businesses, building an income becomes so much more straightforward.
So, I'll leave you with this to think about. I want you to take a hard, honest look at your own work, your own journey, and ask yourself this one simple question. Are you just staying busy, or are you actively becoming more valuable? The answer to that question, trust me, will change everything.